Hi there. So here's another video, and I'm going to do another story. Not really a story. Again, it's going to be more of an analogy. So this one comes from, yes, this is definitely not a story. So this comes from Bernardo Kastrup, and Bernardo Kastrup promotes his analytic idealism. So idealism is where instead of the base, the most fundamental thing being matter, idealism says it's consciousness, it's mind, basically. Now, it's very useful to use lots of these non-dual people interested in non-duality. They mix a bit of Bernardo Kastrup, a bit of Rupert Spira, and other sources. Bernardo Kastrup is good for arguing against materialism, and if you believe that everything is consciousness, then it's very similar to believing that everything is non-dual and everything you are awareness itself, you are existence itself, because the mind that you are, the observer that you are, is the same observer that everyone is, and that God is, or the universe is. Now we have our mind, which is restricted, limited, and then there is what he calls the mind at large, which is the mind outside our mind. So in materialism, we imagine that what we see here, everything, all our senses, all the qualia, they're called, the colors and smells and feelings of warmth and feelings of touch and all of this, emotions, and everything is inside our head, according to materialism. And then outside is the real world, and what we have inside our heads is a representation of what's outside our heads, and it's made of matter. Now, idealism says that what's inside our heads is mind, but also outside our heads is also mind. Now, Bernardo Kastrup and Donald Hoffman, who both use a interface metaphor, where what we perceive, the world we perceive, as an interface, a representation of the mind at large, what's outside our heads. And we use this, we've developed this interface in order to be able to navigate reality. And so the interface contains time and space, etc., etc. Anyway, this isn't a video about this. This is a video about a whirlpool analogy that he uses. And Rupert Spira has also picked up on this to explain possible continuity after death. So if we are, if everything is mind, and how we experience the world right now is a limitation of the mind at large, the universal mind, the cosmic mind. He calls it mind at large. I probably should have introduced that earlier, but it's kind of the mind of the universe, and maybe beyond. So it is what the ground of reality, the ground of being, is this consciousness in which everything arises and is made of. Now, we are restrictions of this. We're limitations as separate individuals. And the body we have is a representation. When you see another person, the body they have is a representation of their inner experience. So everything is mind. On the outside it's mind, on the inside it's mind, and everything is made of mind. Now, so he uses this whirlpool analogy where you have a river and there is a whirlpool, and the whirlpool cannot be taken out of the river. The whirlpool is just made of the water, the same water as the river. And that's the idea here, that we are a restriction, a limitation that seems to have form. And interestingly, the whirlpool looks in on itself, and that's our experience. We can't see into other people's minds. We've got this limitation. So the same as the whirlpool. You can't take the whirlpool out of the water. The whirlpool is the river itself. And so in this way, we are made of consciousness, and somehow we are in some way separate from limited from and closed off from the rest of mind at large, the universal mind. So, and this is a good way to explain it, to see how everything can be made of mind. Now, it's not really, I think, the ultimate truth, because at the end of the day, if you're talking about monism, which is when you believe there's only one fundamental thing, at the end of the day, if everything is matter, or if everything is just mind, it comes to the same, it more or less comes to the same conclusion, except because we are a manifestation of the universe in both cases. What we are is what the universe is. There's only one thing here. And in materialism, we are an expression. We're the universe waking up. And also within idealism, the universe was always awake. But we're this limitation of this consciousness. And Bernardo Kastrup interestingly says that maybe through what we explore when we dissolve, when the Whirlpool releases, the information is still in the greater mind. And along these lines, I don't want to go off the topic too much. Michael Levin has been doing experiments on, many years ago now, he continues doing new experiments, but on a type of worm where they train the worm to navigate a maze, and it learns how to navigate the maze, and then they cut its head off, and this type of worm regrows the head. And even though the part that was the brain in the worm is gone, we have this, it remembers the maze. So when the head grows back, it can still navigate. So this implies that maybe the memory is not stored inside the brain of the worm. We have other things that suggest this, like there's something called terminal lucidity. You can look it up on Wikipedia. And this is when somebody who has their brain is completely eaten out by Alzheimer's, but just before their death, they regain total lucidity. So they remember everything. They remember their family members, and they become normal for a short period before they die. And this, if their brain really was where the memories were being stored, then this would be impossible. So Daniel Levin is looking into maybe they could be stored in some sort of fields or something like that. But we could see it also in idealism, that the memories are stored in the universal mind, the mind at large. Now, so this is a good analogy for that. And it's got an additional bonus that we can use it to speculate about life after death. So we are this contraction of the water, this limitation of the mind in the river. And we have there's certain twigs and leaves that are inside this whirlpool. And if we don't let go of them while we're the whirlpool, for example, habits or even good things like skills we develop in life, the ability to paint or musical ability, when the whirlpool dissolves, when we die, when the body dies, we become the universal mind again. But we flow down the river with the same debris, the same stuff that was in that patch of water before. And when further down the river another whirlpool forms, it contains a lot of the same material. So if you had habits, conditioning in your previous life, then these would be present in your new life. So maybe you're born with a tendency to be good at painting, or born with a musical ability, or good at languages, or you're born with a propensity to alcoholism or something like that. So it's in the new life. In fact, there's a nice story from Swami Savrapiananda connected to this, where he says he saw a film once where there was a ghost, a man died, and he becomes a ghost. And he used to smoke a lot when he was living. And he sees a pack of cigarettes on the table, and he tries to reach for it, but his hands goes through the cigarettes. And this desire, Swami Sarvapriyananda suggests, it occurred to him that this desire is what pulls us back into the world. This desire to experience certain things that we had in our previous lives, habits, conditioning. There's a word in Sanskrit that they use, samskaras, I think. And so it's our conditioning, our habits, and our karma as well, whatever, things that flow along with us. Now, the additional nice thing about this metaphor is that we also can use it, we can imagine that as we're flowing down the river and a whirlpool forms, that is us, as our body is created, there could be other whirlpools nearby. So our family and friends, and they would also be whirlpools with their own interior life, because the whirlpool is pulled inwards, so we can't see inside their heads, and with their own habits, etc. And when they dissolve and we dissolve, we all flow down the river together, and then these whirlpools form again. And so nearby in our new lives, we may also have this these people with us, the same people, the same habits. There's some sort of continuity of who we are. Now, this is talking, of course, based on reincarnation. So if you don't believe in reincarnation, you're not interested in reincarnation, then clearly you won't like this analogy. But I quite like it. I think that we don't know what happens after death. And to think of this, what we really want, firstly, is to not non-existence, we want to continue existing. And this is good. But if it's completely not us anymore, we're reborn as a new person, or because if the mind always exists and has always existed, and in fact exists out of time, then when we dissolve, there would be we could reform. I think probably the truth is probably deeper than any of this. It's deeper than the idea of heaven and in Christianity or the Abrahamic religions and certain forms of Hinduism, and probably deeper than anything we can imagine in idealism or other religions that are non-dualistic. But this gives us some comfort to think that there could be continuity after death. Not only continuity, but also a continuity of who we are and of our loved ones around us. So I hope that was interesting. Thank you for watching. Bye.